Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this council meeting to order, this November 24th council meeting to order at exactly 5:30 p.m. And I can confirm everybody is here in attendance. That's wonderful. Councillor Renwick, would you mind reading the land acknowledgement, please?
I would be honored. Thank you. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg under the terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty Number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaty of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take action towards real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations. Rich.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I'll move right along to our council minutes. I have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Be it resolved that the following council meeting minutes be adopted as printed and circulated. Regular council, October 27th, 2025. Special council, November 13th, 2025. And planning council, November 12th, 2025. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. The exception of Councillor Fitzgerald, who's paying attention. I'm moving to the reports from committees and the meeting minutes. Starting with 5.1.1, Huntsville Public Library Board. We do have a set of minutes, October 3rd, 2025. Councillor Cloutier, would you have anything to add?
Thank you. Yes, through you. As written, and also I think everybody's had their tour with David, except me. but anyways, greatly appreciated everybody going with them.
Okay, thank you for that. Indeed, I certainly had the tour. I think we all have, and it was wonderful. I have to say, to be reminded of everything our library does for this community, it's breathtaking, actually. All right, moving to 5.1.2, Downtown Huntsville BIA. We do have two sets of minutes, October 9th and October 22nd. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, the minutes are there. I just wanted to call a little bit of attention to the second set of minutes, the October 22nd, which was a special meeting to allow the BIA to approve the lighting of, or the choosing of the lighting company that was going to do the lighting. And just because Rachel is here today as well, but the lighting in downtown Huntsville is absolutely amazing. And if you have not had a chance to be downtown, please go and take a look. It is spectacular. And I think it's making news around, not the world, but let's just say around probably the province. Let's say that, yeah.
It feels like the world.
Yeah.
It feels. I'm glad you're saying that. Kudos to the whole BIA team, to you, Rachel, absolutely. And it was recognized tonight in our wards and the service that you do to our community. It's a fantastic installation. Thank you. Yes.
And if I may, Your Worship, just because we're on the BIA as well, I could do it under events, but I thought I would just mention it here. But there is the tree lighting happening on Friday evening, and there's also the Santa Claus parade that's happening on downtown on Friday night, the 28th.
Okay, thank you. We'll just have to remember when we get to events, well, we might mention those events again, all over again. That's okay. I won't remember by then. Okay, all right. Any questions of Councillor Renwick? Seeing none, then I'm moving to 5.1.3, the Huntsville Municipal Accommodation Tax meetings. We have two sets of minutes, September 23rd and October 2nd. Councillor Morrison, anything to update?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because both of those meetings, the highlight were the BIA lights. So I was going to bring that up. Helena commented. So the first meeting, we had a very passionate presentation from our own Rachel Hunt about what was going to happen. And then the follow-up meeting was when we made the decision. It was an easy decision. But I just want the residents to know that it was HMATA funds that went towards it, not tax levy or tax funds. And the payoff has been huge, and we're getting lots of compliments. So thank you to Rachel for bringing that forward. And that's really the only thing of substance from that.
Thank you for that. It's amazing reading all of these minutes because you're reminded about everything that HMATA is supporting and the BIA is doing. And I know we don't have chamber minutes this time, but generally chamber as well. Again, all of the different things that are supported by our partner organizations is remarkable. I don't see any other questions on that, so I'll move to 5.1.4, the Aspen Community Hall Ad Hoc Committee. Dion,
Yes,
Councillor
so-
Schumacher. sorry.
Thank you. The minutes are there for review. There was a motion. They are looking to use their hall funds to replace 9 window panes out of like the 12. Just the town cleaner was in and cannot get the film that has kind of, so after years of what they are, they did have a quote come in. And so since that is they collect their own funds, buy their rentals and everything, they are paying for that themselves to go ahead and have that done.
Thank you for, Councillor Cluche.
Through you, Chair. Is there any chance we could get under the window program that the provinces come out with the grants?
I don't know, probably through Greg. I mean, he's on board with what it is they're doing through Greg Pilling, but I don't know if that's part of that program, if we can see if there's, a rebate, if it's possible. Yeah, they'll look into it.
But
CAO
what you're
says.
saying is they're working with our staff,
Yes,
right?
they are
And
working
so
with
they're
our
not
staff,
doing this on
Because
their
they
own.
are a committee of council, so they
Yeah.
have to do it that way, but because they do raise their own funds by their rentals are their
Right.
own rentals,
Right,
they in turn, instead of going to us for a budget to do this, they've
Just-
decided to go ahead with their budget to replace these instead of waiting for like 2027
right,
to
okay.
do it.
But if there is an opportunity,
But if
certainly
there
our
is an
staff
opportunity
will
for rebate,
identify
we'll,
that.
we'll definitely.
I see
think the town will
Director
work.
Babineau is taking
Director-
notes while we
Director
speak,
Babineau
so
is
that's great.
writing it all down, and so so that's why there is a list of donations at the bottom too, because they do give out to community charities that they like to support, and so they do that every year as part of, because again, that is their fundraising. That hall is quite booked because it is probably 3 times less than half the other halls around town. So
Thank you for that. I have to say, you just mentioned it, but going through their minutes, I was astonished that the list of donations that they're making, from Salvation Army Food Bank, Table Soup Kitchen, Corner Lighthouse, Huntsville Hospital Auxiliary. It's remarkable for such a small group, and they collect it
Yeah, this
on the
year,
rentals, but they're giving
$7,500.
back.
Yeah.
Everything they collect, they're
they're
giving back.
Yeah, so
It's-
7,500 this year is donation to various. They
Causes.
picked food banks, women's shelters,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
it was, I was quite moved when I read that, actually.
yeah.
It was pretty cool. All right, no other questions on that, so we are moving right along to reports for adoption, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Schumacher and seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated October 29th, 2025, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as printed and circulated. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Okay, moving to reports from municipal officers. We indeed have 3 this evening, starting with Report 6.1, Report CS-2025-5, the Community Recognition Program 2025 nominees. And we have Jacqueline Surrett and Kayla Wett. And Kayla's not joining you, Jacqueline. But welcome, Jacqueline, and thank you again for an extraordinary event earlier today.
Thank you. It's one of my pleasures and why I love my job. So it is my pleasure to introduce this report on the Community Recognition Program for 2025. This program recognizes the invaluable contributions of many of our organizations and individuals serving the Huntsville area. Tonight, prior to this meeting, we honored a total of 35 nominees, 16 organizations, and 19 individuals. The support these groups and individuals provide is vast, serving our children, our youth, our adults, families, businesses, and not-for-profit organizations. And they touch every aspect of our community, from economic to social, physical, and cognitive health, well-being, and vitality. The list that is in Appendix A of this report is really something to be proud of, and makes me feel honored to now be a Huntsvillian. Our nominees will be celebrated online and in social throughout the year. So if you are looking for that information, you can go to huntsville.ca. Thank you.
Thank you for that. As I said earlier, it was a great event, and council will remember that last year we did it in the chambers, and I think we didn't have a dozen. It was something a little shy of a dozen, and this year, to Manager Surratt's comment, it was 35 recipients. And so there's huge interest in our community to nominate individuals and organizations for all of the good work that happens in our community. Were there any questions from from council? Oh my goodness, I don't know where I am. Yes, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's more of a comment. Thank you for the work that you and your team have done on this. It was quite incredible to stand there, and every time you mentioned someone's name, this roar of applause came up. And I guess it just shows you the sense of community that we have and how appreciative they all know each other as well. And in some way, their lives touch each other. So it was really, thank you for sharing that with all of us to do that. I think it was a really great evening. So thank you. And the snacks were good too. So.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Councillor Schumacher.
Yes, I would just echo that. I mean, even some of the organizations were a little new to me, like even the group that brings books to newborns, that it turned out it was my grade 1 teacher from Meekager School and my grade 3 teacher too. So that was kind of cool to sort of see that they've been doing that for however many years and whatnot, and just the joy that our community has, like Councillor Renwick said, for each other. And my goal is, I know a number of us sit on boards sometimes or help out with other organizations, and we are lacking in volunteers. So I think this is a good program to kind of get that out there to our community, that, you know, recognition and volunteerism is strong in our community, and hopefully we can start to see it grow, because I think there are a lot of organizations that could really use, you know, a touch from what that group of people, you know, can share.
Thank you for that. Last comment about this, I agree that everybody applauded, and generally everybody knows each other. And we had people like Rob Saunders, who's been here forever. But it's also interesting, I know a couple of the recipients have not been here forever, and yet they're totally embraced in our community. Not only embraced, but they're giving back. And one in particular who is involved in the hockey world, and I just think it's just such a reflection of this, how great this community is. That's all I got to say. All right, with that, I am moving to the next item, and that is back to you, Jacqueline, on report number CS-2025-6, the public art donation. Before you start, I'll read the motion, and then you can. I have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Be it resolved that, in accordance with the public art policy, the town of Huntsville add the donation of a bronze statue of Mahatma Gandhi from the Consulate General of India to its public art inventory, and further that the documentation to transfer ownership to the town of Huntsville be completed to the satisfaction of the Chief Administrative Officer and the Director of Community Services, and further that the Director of Community Services and Manager of Recreation, Culture and Heritage be authorized to sign all necessary documentation, and further that staff work with senior leadership team on a suitable location should the site conditions not allow for installation of the statue along the west side of the Civic Center. And with that, over to you, Manager Surratt.
Thank you for that. I hope I got the geographical location of that proper. West side of the building. So another reason to be proud to live in Huntsville is the subject of this report. Earlier in 2025, a delegation of high-ranking diplomats from the Consulate General of India, along with leaders from Huntsville's local Indian community, met with town representatives to discuss a very unique opportunity for the town to be the recipient of one of 2 bronze statues of Gandhi commissioned by the consulate specifically for the purpose of donating them. So I know this is mostly in the report, but I want to highlight a few things. In accordance with the town's public art policy, all acquisitions, including donations, are to be evaluated in accordance with a number of criteria set out in the policy. donations are also subject to a juried process. So similar to what we did with Kent Park and our public art project there, staff struck a jury of subject experts from Huntsville Art Society, Huntsville Lake of Bays Chamber of Commerce, our BIA, who is here today in the crowd. You tell I'm from the arts, the arts community. The crowd goes wild. And Muskoka Arts and Crafts to review the donation. As a result of that meeting, we have the recommendation before you to acquire the work. As described in our policy, public art is a force for placemaking, for expressing and evoking connections among people and places that are meaningful to community and civic life. I stress that. Public art has purpose, creating places within community spaces that foster curiosity, dialogue, attract visitors and residents, and foster a sense of pride. Our jury saw that in this donation and saw that it was a powerful visual representation of the town's vision as a growing community that is vibrant, inclusive, and healthy while protecting our heritage and natural features. The fact that it is supported locally and grounded in our efforts to build a welcoming and inclusive community demonstrates its clear connection to our place. As a tribute to our leadership, our openness, and respect for multiculturalism and diversity, it would be a source of pride and belonging for our residents. There would be no cost to the town to acquire the donation outside of regular maintenance and possible vandalism, which we all know is sad. Bronze is a resilient medium, however, and which is why it is used widely in outdoor installations. Should the town adopt option 1 to accept the donation, the donor and local advocates are hoping to see it installed in time to celebrate the 2nd year anniversary of the Ishkan Muskoka Temple in our downtown. Thank you, and I'm here to hopefully answer all of your questions.
Thank you for that, and I have read the motion, so I will ask council if there are questions regarding this motion. Comments or questions? Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. I have a question. It might be, and then a comment, but the question might be for Director McKenzie. If we accept the donation, does it then become part of our capital management asset plan? That's the question.
Director McKenzie.
No, public art is excluded from our capital asset plan.
Okay, and then I'll just make a brief comment. I guess by accepting the donation, I guess I'm a little bit concerned that it could lead to a whole lot more requests for more statues of all different types. And I'm not sure that our residents want to see multiple statues throughout Huntsville. And in the end, I guess my concern really is we'll be responsible for them as a town, and we will have to insure them with taxpayer money. So that's my concerns.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. I will, Councillor Stone.
Thank you. So I think this is wonderful. It's a very unique installation. And it kind of reminds me of Europe. As I've walked around cities in Europe, you're just walking down the street, you turn a corner and then, oh my God, there's something amazing right here. And so this is one more of those things. We've got the art in Kent Park, Tom Thompson, obviously, this one, and they're all very high quality, wonderful. And this is honoring a great man that did some great things in our world history. So I love it.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. I want to thank Jacqueline for the report. Very detailed, right down to the dot in the I's and crossing the T's for sure. I think we really have to look at this as an art donation. I know what it represents and what some constituents might think, but it's an art donation. No different than a painting or a bear or Tom Thompson's. So I think it's great. I really hope this location works out, but I'm glad you looked at other options and look forward to seeing how it makes out.
Thank you. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And it's a little bit lengthy, if I may, but I just want to read something that I wrote. So we have a very unique opportunity in front of us. The Consulate General of India has chosen Huntsville as one of 2 communities, Ontario communities, to receive this bronze statue of Gandhi. The gift recognizes our leadership in fostering inclusiveness, diversity, and dialogue, and I think that speaks to what you spoke about as well. He has a universal message of peace and compassion, and that aligns perfectly with our existing commitments of the Commitment Rock, which is already there in our little garden, and the upcoming Unity Circle. So together, these works tell a powerful story of reconciliation and shared human values. The only thing that, reading a little bit more about Gandhi, he is a bit of a controversial subject as well. And I am not going to change my mind about accepting the donation, but I want council and us as a body of people making a decision that there is controversy around Gandhi, that he had certain views that some people now do not agree with, and in regard to the caste system, in regard to statements that he made about South Africa. So I'm saying that, but I like what you said, Deputy Mayor Armour, that this is an art installation and we'd like to keep the politics out of it, but it will come. So, but that being said, the fact that the donor and the local partners will cover all the costs of the fabrication, transportation, and installation. The statue appraised value exceeds our insurance coverage, but the financial risk is moderate compared to the cultural and diplomatic significance of this gift. Bronze is very durable, as we've seen with our Tom Thomson statue. Accepting this statue is not just about the art, but it is affirming who we are as a community, and I urge Council to support this donation and embrace the unveiling of a lasting symbol of peace and inclusivity in Huntsville.
Thank you for that. I echo comments that were made by the previous speakers, and I appreciate Councillor Renwick that you did do the research. You're quite right. Like so many well-known people in our communities and internationally, they're not without some blemishes, for sure. But this is somebody who the people that we met from the Consul General of India hold with high regard. And it's a gesture to the town of Huntsville to say, we value this town that's embraced our community. And so it's an extension to work together and all of the other words that were said at the table, peace and harmony and inclusivity, all of those things. But it's a gesture of tremendous goodwill. And I think that really it coincides with everything we have in our strategic plan as to who we think we are. So I absolutely support this, and I thought it was a great note, Manager Surratt. It was succinct, but it got to the meat of why this is important. So I appreciate that. Councillor Schumacher.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor with a lot of what has been said. I mean, I do understand. I did read a bit too, like a few places in the UK have taken down their statues because of the South African comments. But I believe it was somewhere in the beginning stages of his journey, and we've all kind of made some mistakes, I think, sometimes in the beginning of our lives that we would maybe apologize for when we were younger for things we've said. So generally, what Gandhi is known for is the peace and the inclusive part, and I think that's the main thing that I would like to get across here in Huntsville. I know we've had a couple of maybe not so great marks on us in the last couple of summers with populations and things that have happened and an MPP in our area, and I think we need to be embracing an inclusive community that we need to show that we are and that Huntsville is, and I think this would be a good, poignant part of that to show that we are an inclusive community who is accepting of all.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thanks very much. Just to follow up with that, could you just explain what the process would be if it was installed and we ended up having to remove it or wanting to remove it? I remember that the pipe man many years ago that caused a lot of comments throughout the town, and I actually liked the pipe man. I thought it was looked pretty cool out in the middle of that river, right? But anyhow, so I think just for those who are listening, maybe it's good to let everybody know what the process would be if we were going to have to remove it and how that would look in the future.
Now you're testing, yes, testing the knowledge of our policy.
Sorry.
Suffice to say, there is a process.
There is a process, sorry. And honestly, I should have been probably a little prepared for that question. However, we do have a process listed or described in our public art policy that talks about deaccession, and that's what it's called. So when you decide, you walk through the steps, which I will look for and possibly get back to you on that as we move forward with this process, to take down or to, remove something from our inventory.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll be brief. But I guess the question is, and what you said, Deputy Mayor Armour, it reminded me of Pipe Man, that there was no public consultation. So will there be, and maybe this is a question for you, Jacqueline, will there be public consultation if council decides to do this? Do we go to the public as well to get their response, or is this something that council is deciding and we move forward?
So to Councillor Renwick, so we have consulted our community in a way through our public through the BIA, through the chamber, through our various arts organizations. There's challenges with, putting something like this into the public realm to ask, should we accept it, should we not? If our values are inclusivity, respect, diversity, and if that is something that council chooses to accept and to celebrate through this piece, that would be appropriate in this situation to install the work on behalf of our community. We have a strategic plan that celebrates our vision of being an inclusive community, which was all done through public consultation. So there has been public consultation. I mean, to ask individuals, yes or no, not necessarily, but I believe we've done our due diligence in terms of celebrating our values. It can be challenging assessing an individual, an artwork of an individual, and we've seen over the years there have been various statues that have come and gone as a result, and that is one of the challenges. So, but I think in this respect, it's given in good conscience. Its donation has a very specific purpose, and it's something that we should celebrate and honor. I know one of the first things that our jury said when they were going through the documentation and reading some of the powerful messaging that they provided through their donation form was what an honor to be recognized in this way. And we have had some blemishes on us in the last little while. And I think this speaks to that we still embody that, and we're still showing to others and to our residents that we are, inclusive, and these are the values that are important to us.
Thank you for that. And I was about to ask if you could remind council about the process, but I think you just did, that you have an arts advisory committee, and they were consulted and did a lot of work in looking at this submission. So that's helpful. Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments. So with that, I will call the question. I've read the motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? And that carries. Thank you very much for a lot of careful consideration on that. All right, and thank you for the work on that, Jacqueline. Okay, so we are going to move to our next item, and it is our third report, and we're joined by David Zilke, and it is with respect to report number development 2025-111, expansion of Huntsville's public EV charging network. And I do have a motion. It has been moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Cluche, whereas the installation of accessible EV charging infrastructure is critical for the adoption of EVs and the transition away from fossil fuel burning transportation. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to collaborate with Lakeland Solutions on the planning for charging infrastructure to be installed at 20 Park Drive and 288 William Street. And further that the Director of Development Services be authorized to sign the required site access verification forms and to endorse Lakeland Solutions EV Charge On application with a letter of support. And further that staff be directed to report back on the outcome of Lakeland Solutions EV Charge On application and details on potential site lease agreement. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. In early November, the Government of Ontario announced the reopening of the Electric Vehicle Charge On funding program. This is a program that is designed to support the installation of public EV charging infrastructure across the province. Since that announcement in early November, I've been in discussions with Lakeland Solutions about the possibility of availing ourselves of this funding to install further charging infrastructure at 2 project locations. So the first of which, 20 Park Drive, the Canada Summit Centre, and the second at Macaulay Robertson Sports Complex. The town of Huntsville is part of the program's northern region, so that means that any projects that are conducted here are eligible for the Charge On funding program to cover 75% of that cost. Lakeland Solutions are proposing to cover the remaining 25%, so this would come at no cost to the town. Staff are seeking direction to collaborate with Lakeland Solutions, as you just heard in the recommendation of this report, to continue to collaborate and to determine the best possible location and implementation of those, and authorization to sign the site access forms that are required for Lakeland Solutions to be able to submit their application by December 12th. I'll also just add that Peter Ewald from Lakeland Solutions is in the audience today, and happy to answer any questions as they pertain to the project infrastructure or the usage of our existing Lakeland chargers. I guess really anything as it pertains to electric vehicle chargers. You sort of have a subject matter expert behind me here. So yeah, with that, happy to take any questions on the report.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Peter, for joining us. Councillor Cluche.
Through you. The spot at the arena, that's where the OPP was parking spot, right? It used to be. That was my go-to spot whenever spot because they were never there. Do we have another location for them to park? I haven't noticed.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor. Historically, yes, there was a sign there for the OPP to be able to park. There is not currently one, and that is by design. So the decision was made to not have a spot for 2 reasons. One, if parking is all full and there's an unused spot that's reserved for OPP, there was concern about what that might look like if the OPP is not using that spot and then no one can park there. Exactly, so it's yours. So I guess we need to rename it the Councillor Cloutier spot. The second reason being that it's better to not have like a clearly marked specific spot. If they are able to park in anywhere around there, it sort of keeps the mystery as to whether or not the police are in the space or not. And sort of in that area, you don't look to an empty spot and go, okay, the police aren't here, I can go do whatever it is I want to do in that area. So yeah, that's the current situation, is that there isn't one. But I of 2 was fooled by Google Maps earlier today. So
I like, because we're not taking any more spots from downtown. The big thing with this.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks for the report. Where you've got Macaulay Robertson Circle there, that's currently posted no parking along that roadway. Are you taking down some trees to actually put these new parking spaces in?
So the idea through you, Mayor, was that there's that small little parking lot area that's already there that would be converting 4 spots into EV charging parking. We wouldn't have to be taking down any trees. To my knowledge, I would have to have the conversation with Peter as we go farther along that process. And if that were to be needed, what that would look like, and if there are other alternatives that we could do that would not involve modifying the landscape so heavily like that.
Okay, Councillor Morrison.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Alcock, and through you. I love that's going out to Macaulay because I've been out there with kids sports and there's a lot of EVs that go there. So while your kid is playing ball, you could be charging your car, which I think is amazing. Might be a question for Peter, but I'm wondering, with the installation of the charging stations that you guys have done throughout Muskoka so far, do you have any usage stats? Are you seeing them well used? Are they just picking up? So if you want to come down, just answer that. Just want to see if
Peter, would you,
if
great.
it's justifying more. I
Yes.
think it is, but I just want
This
to know
is
the
great.
stats.
Thank you so much, Scott, and or Councillor Morrison and the rest of the council. Yeah, David did tip me off. There might be some tough questions, so I did prepare some. I have some notes here. I went really old school, but specific to our Huntsville, our existing Huntsville location, and since 2025 to date, there's been a total of 2,384 transactions, over 95,000 kilowatt hours of energy delivered. So that's worked out to an average of 39.8 kilowatt hours per session, average charge time about 27 minutes, which means people are spending time in the community and likely spending money and supporting the economy. Obviously, our busiest month is August, and we've got some good Google reviews here. So I think downtown is covered and doing well, and we haven't seen this station at max capacity. But talking with David and looking at these other locations which serve other needs in the community, don't compete with the downtown site, and support drivers in different locations. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that data. That's wonderful.
Welcome.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship, and through you, Peter. Peter, thanks for coming. David, thanks for the presentation. Amazed at the numbers you have. I wonder if you can enlighten us what kind of revenue is generated through those charging hours.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd have to do some quick math. I didn't write down the revenue details. Probably we're looking in the $50,000 range. That would be gross revenue. Our expenses are quite high. As you can imagine, that site across the road here is 800 amp, 600 volt service. The electricity costs are quite expensive.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming
Thank you.
again. That was great. Okay. Okay, we are moving right along to bylaws. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Cluche. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2025 to 120 to 2025, 125 inclusive be reported and passed this 24th day of November 2025. Do I read all of those? Apparently, I don't have to read all of the bylaws. They are exactly as they were in our agenda package. So are there questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. That's great. I ask you that every time. I know, every time, same question. I know. I don't know why I never remember. All right, moving right along. Look at us. We're at general information. So we're going to start with the District of Muskoka update, and Deputy Mayor Armour, any highlights from EPW?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. We had a very short agenda, actually. They were talking about just doing it through a Zoom meeting, but we ended up meeting, actually went till 10:30. So I think we had a consent agenda about some contract awards. I think the biggest discussion we heard about was the application for the drainage policy verbal update. I'm sure my fellow councillors, district councillors, remember the policy that came through in September about the drainage policy, or Drainage Act. So currently the district's in the process of petitioning the town of Huntsville for the drainage problem that happens on Bernal Road by 490 Bernal Road, Riverside School area. So we have our manager Brandon looking into that right now. So the petition basically is having us get an engineer to do a study on how the water flows there, and could cost up to $15,000. But at the end of the study, you'd show that the district has to pay the cost, or the town of Huntsville may have to pay the cost if we go through with it. I'm sure when Brandon brings a report, we'll all know exactly what's going on. Or if the benefiting residents along that drainage area may end up having to pay the cost of the drainage study, and new infrastructure to drain the water. So that'll be coming sometime, I believe, in the new year, and we'll have a great discussion at that time, I'm sure.
A quick question. This is the first time they've applied this new policy, right?
That's correct. They actually said this is a test, but I don't know if it's much of a test, really, but I believe if I'm correct on my understanding of the petition, they can bring it here. Our roads manager can give a report on it, and
Yep.
we as a council can
Respond.
and turn it down. I believe we can go through that process with it, but just so
Okay.
you know, it is coming. So it's going to be interesting where we go from here.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Cluche.
Through you, Chair, and Councillor Emmer. It's in my area, and I just have a really hard time trying to push an invoice onto our local residents that's something to do with nature. The way things are designed out there, it's a big problem, and it's going to be even a bigger problem this winter. I think if we get our mild, the way our winter's been going with the snow and the melt and everything like that, and the residents along there, the ditches have not been done in there for years. So there's 6-foot cattails all growing up in there. The water's not going to flow through them. I was with one resident the other day and did some shots. And I mean, in the ditch, there's like 21 centimeters of water in a 24-inch or 21 inches of water in a 24-inch culvert already. And between his culvert and the outgoing culvert for the area, there's 20 inches higher in the center of the between the two culverts. So I have no idea how the district thinks the water's supposed to flow that way. I mean, I could say something now, but I'd get in trouble. But anyways, it's all downhill the way it's supposed to go. But even the thought of passing that on to the residents around there is beyond me.
And appreciate those comments. I think the critical part here, and you mentioned it, Deputy Mayor Armour, that our council will have the opportunity to provide input on this process. And that clearly as each decision is made, we can take it up here at this table, but we can also bring it back to EPW and if need be at District Council. Right? That's my understanding anyway.
Absolutely, we can bring it back. It has been a long ongoing issue with this area on Brunel Road, so I'm just hoping we can come to a resolution and get water flowing in the right direction. So that's my hope.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, I don't see any other questions, and thank you for that update. I will move to FCS. Councillor Morrison, anything to update?
No, it was a short and boring meeting and not a lot to discuss, but not much in the minutes. It was a Zoom call, so.
Okay, we won't have any questions there then. Thank you for the update and the honesty. You know, honesty is a good thing. Councillor Stone, HSC.
Thank you. It was a virtual meeting because it was relatively short. We received a $25,000 grant to help with our mental health support for our public safety personnel. So that's already being done, but this will allow us to do a much better job and be preemptive of the stress that these people go through. We heard about the developing joint strategic plan for Pines and Fairburn because they're going to be working together. Staff will be able to travel between both homes, and so that's well underway. And we had a report on remote patient monitoring for the community paramedicine program. And that's pretty much it.
That's quite a bit for an hour. That was good. Councillor Renwick.
If I may, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Stone, where is that 2,500 or 25,000?
25,000,
And where's that coming from?
the province.
Thank you. That's great.
Councillor Cluche.
Through you, Chair. How's staffing going when they move into
So
the new digs?
we have a report every meeting on the staffing at both of the Pines. And over the past 6 months, we have made great strides in hiring full-time staff rather than using staffing agencies, which is a whole lot cheaper. And we are actively doing some very good things to hire the additional 130 people we're going to need for Fairburn. One of the things is the head leases. So the province or the district is signing head leases with rental unit owners so that the district will be paying the rent, and then we can have these, because one of the big stumbling blocks is people coming here can't find a place to live. So we're solving that problem for them. Anyways, great things are happening.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? All right. So Community and Planning Services, I'm going to not repeat, but there were a couple of things that were mentioned I need to go over. So you'll remember that at our last council meeting, we had a presentation from Brian Rasmussen and Heather Cassie from the Table Soup Kitchen Foundation talking about the new Table Plaza. And so they made a deputation at the Community and Planning Services Committee. They updated their ask for district, and they were asking the district for $1 million towards the Table Plaza capital build, as well as $80,000 per person to provide shelter. So there was a bit of, so what committee had a motion asking staff to bring a report back just so that we could respond to that request. There's certainly, I expect that there might be some room in our homelessness budget because they are actually providing overnight housing for people who would otherwise be homeless. As to the $1 million ask, as everybody knows, that's another report. Our 2025 budget at District of Muskoka has already been set. We're just in the process of readopting it. Other than that, we also had about 4 planning reports. 2 of them are updates to our official plan. Both of them around environment and climate change. It's part of the 5-year comprehensive Muskoka official plan review. And the second one is an update on the review of our lake system health program. And both fantastic reports. Basically, committee provided approval necessary to go to the public for consultation. And as Councillor Stone mentioned, there was an update on the head lease program. We actually haven't signed any head leases yet. And it's there, if committee was pretty strong in its request of staff to move a little faster on the head lease response and process, because so far they've gone out to the development community to see if there's any interest. They received 10 applications from different applicants across the district saying, yes, we'd be interested in entering into a head lease, and it might look like this. So staff were proposing that they come back to committee sometime in the early new year with a process for a request for proposals, which we said, that seems a little bit lengthy. We'd like to do this by the end of the term because of the need that Councillor Stone referenced. We see this as a tremendous opportunity for providing much needed housing for workers at Fairburn or whatever it might be. So staff got that message, and they're coming in January with a very clear next step, which will hopefully be like a serious next step. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship, and thanks for trying to expedite that. Just a question, are we considering only new construction or existing units or combination thereof?
It's a combination thereof. There were some smaller properties that could be in the process of being renovated or revitalized, that sort of thing. But there were some substantially big projects as well, really, really big. So mostly new from what I understand. They tried to indicate different pockets of the types of development, yeah.
Great.
But hopefully in January we'll be further along in the process.
Looking forward to more information.
Yes,
Thank
thank you. Yes, thank you. So, and very quickly, we had a committee of the whole special council meeting to deal with the 2025 district budget, which, as I said earlier, district in 2024 adopted a 2-year budget, just as we did here, and we were required to re-adopt. So we had a special committee of the whole meeting and approved all of the recommendations we were asked to approve, and it will now go to council. There was healthy dialogue around some of the recommendations in it around a few of the new staffing positions. One of them was a special staff person in HR to hire staff for Fairburn. So there were some issues around that, amongst other things, but the district did deliver a budget that is below 4.5%, which was the direction set in 2024. And it highlights additional items such as $1 million additional monies for housing, budget increases for Fairburn development, which has consistently had approval for increased costs for Fairburn, which is on track to open in late spring 2026, and additional funds for climate action, as well as paramedic services. And huge money that, again, was previously approved, but highlighted for infrastructure around water and wastewater. Something like the expansion of Golden Pheasant is a $100 million infrastructure project. It is the largest infrastructure project that has ever happened in the district of Muskoka. So a lot is in that budget, and the council moved it forward. So that, and then we had district council that afternoon, and there wasn't really a lot to report on, with the exception of a lengthy discussion around the decommissioning, how the project, the district intends to proceed with decommissioning some of their housing units, both in Gravenhurst and in Huntsville. And after a lot of discussion and with great push and from Councillors Morrison especially and Councillor Stone, staff were asked to bring back some additional information on the project in Huntsville in particular, to look at some additional alternative options. So that will be coming back to our next council meeting in December. And that's my review. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move to, you have already, okay. We have council correspondence from October 17th to November 14th. I don't know if anybody had questions about any of that, so we'll move to events and updates. On November 12th was the Food for Kids third annual Weekends Without Hunger Breakfast Gala at Deerhurst. It was a smashing success. There were over 500 people in attendance, and they actually set up their station for filling the bags, which they do every Wednesday for kids in need. And it was a tremendous event. Just gets better and better. There's so much support in our community. It's overwhelming. And on November 21st, we had a visit from Minister Jill Dunlop and MPP Graydon Smith, a press conference at the Summit Centre to talk about the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant, and town of Huntsville was fortunate to receive over $50,000 towards some IT equipment towards emergency planning services, primarily with our lake-based Huntsville Fire Services. And I just wanted to highlight that the film that some of you have seen called Red Girl Rising, it's a short documentary that features Joyce Jonathan Crone, a local resident who founded Hope Arises, Inc. And in the film, it highlights the town of Huntsville and the relationship they have. They were participants in the Red Nation International Film Festival in Los Angeles on the weekend of November 15th and 16th. And they were nominated in the short documentary category out of 47 submissions from 47 different countries, and they won. So it's really cool. That's all I can say. It's really cool. I think they were stunned, and it's not only great for Hope Arises, but the interest for the town of Huntsville is we will hear about it because it is the largest Indigenous film festival in the world. So that, and then I still have a long list. And then Friday, November 28th, is our annual Huntsville's tree lighting at 5 p.m. in Kent Park. And followed by our Santa Claus Parade, which starts at 7 p.m. And this year, the parade theme is a storybook Christmas. Anyone want to talk about this year, the town of Huntsville has a float, and a lot of people are working on that. Pretty exciting. Thank you to everyone who's working on it. I hear there are lots of elves doing their work before the event. And then Saturday, November 29th, is the Muskoka Christmas Market downtown, running from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. On December 3rd, it's the 37th annual Project Porch Light food drive. So residents wishing to participate can turn their porch light on and place their non-perishable donations at the end of their driveway or on their porch. And that begins at 6 p.m. Sunday, December 7th, Community Living Huntsville Festive Brunch at Deerhurst. It's also an annual event, and it is just a great fundraiser for yet again, another great community organization. And Councillor Renwick, would you have something to add?
I just, I met with Jennifer Jarrett this evening, and she did say that event is sold out.
Yes.
So happily so, but
Yeah.
it should be a really great event.
Which is really great because last year it was in the ALC. This year it's at Deerhurst. So they had to sell a whole lot more tickets, and so it's remarkable. Again, it speaks to our community. It's a good event. Finally, on Saturday, December 20th, is the Portage Flyer Christmas Train, which starts at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Council, what else? Have I missed anything that you wanted to add? Councillor Cluche.
The lights out at Sandhill.
Okay, would you like to expand on that? Or would, okay, Councillor Renwick would like
Well,
to.
I do know about it. But
Yeah,
yes, I would
he'd
happily-
like you to speak to it, I think.
It is called the Forest of Lights, and I believe all of council has been invited for the inaugural opening. But it is part of the HMATA Festival of Lights that we used to have in Muskoka Heritage Place. Has now been moved to Deerhurst, and it apparently Sandhill. I'm sorry, Sandhill, not Deerhurst. Whoops. And apparently it's spectacular. It's absolutely, and Councillor Morrison was speaking about it this morning at our corporate services meeting, and maybe you could. Or you have to
Councillor
see it.
Morrison, anything to add to that? It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, just to encourage everybody to get out there. It's
Yeah.
There's already people driving up trying to go to it. Like it's going to be it's the vision of HMATA, as we heard at the Jeff Sotheby's presentation, is trying to flatten that curve and get more off-season travel. And this is going to do it along with Rachel's vision for downtown.
Right.
We're going to be a town of lights now. What Tim is doing, as you can expect, is adding so many crazy things that we did not have before. It's going to be unbelievable.
And the official start date of that, I know
I
we've
believe it's
been.
December 2nd or December
Yeah, we
2nd at
just
night is
received
the
the
thing, and
invitation.
December-
Official opening
Right,
by
the official
invitation.
opening
Yeah.
is that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's great.
Buy
You
tickets
do
in
have to
advance.
get it. Yeah, I was gonna say, you do have to go online and buy tickets in advance. You can't just show up the night of
Right.
and want to go.
Which was
So
similar to
I
Heritage
did
Place.
notice they are doing like a pre-Black Friday sale right now that you can book your tickets ahead of time, and it is a little cheaper. They also have a membership option where you can buy a membership to go for the season.
Okay,
kind of thing,
that's
so.
great information. Thank you for that. Any other events that anybody would like to say anything? All right, Councillor Fitzgerald.
We have our Festival of Lights this Sunday in Port City from 4 to 7, and there's face painting, cookie decorating for the kids, a free soup and sandwich lunch for everyone, caroling. And I'm not sure which one of the clauses are showing up. maybe even both of them.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's called Making Spirits Bright, and it is the lighting of the tree outside of
Outside of
the hall.
hall,
Yeah,
okay.
and all the
And that's
festivities
from
that go
4 to 7.
4 to 7 on the 30th. So it is a big weekend here in Huntsville.
It sure is.
28th, 29th, 30th.
There's a lot happening. Okay,
Are
I
you going to
don't
talk about
see
your evening on
anything.
December
I'm
7th or no?
Going
That's not ready.
to. All right, I think I've finished that, baby. All right. I have a motion moved by Councillor Clark and seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2025-126 be received and passed this 24th day of November 2025. All those in favor? Look at that. Thank you. And I wonder if anybody guessed this time. I don't know. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 6:30 p.m. Whoa! All those in favor, and that carries. Thank you, everybody.